Shobuj, if you can hear to me, please respond immediately. Shobuj,
Yes, is he?
yes, please admit the responsibility.
Yes, I'm admitting already.
A very good evening to one and all present here. This is Anushka Sil from the Startup Club by 𝑚ckvi, and I would like to welcome you all to the session on today's evening. So here with us, we have the speaker for today's evening, Mr. Shamik Guha. And before I begin to give his introduction, I'm sure most of you would be knowing so much about him. Nevertheless, uh, before I speak about the session today, a brief introduction about the club. Well, we have begun our journey from November 2019, and it all started during the pandemic. And since then, with all your efforts, we have reached this massive strength of 600 plus people, which is indeed your enthusiasm that has helped us reach where we are today. So today's session will be primarily be focusing on prototype designing and process designing. And to speak on that, we have a man, uh, an expert who is so much first-hand experienced in the field himself. Mr. Guha is an engineer, like an entrepreneur, like we call, like all engineers who turn into entrepreneurs. So it's a pleasure to have you with us today. So his vision is currently, like his vision is on building smart headgears, and he has established a company Altor, which produces smart mobility gears with behavior detection features and accident prevention features. So, sir, it is over to you. We would like to hear from you about the topic today, that is on prototype designing.
Sure. Thank you, Anushka. Thanks a lot. I'm audible, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So thank you to all of you for having me here. And it's always exciting. Personally, I'm very excited anytime I'm having to meet an engineering college crowd. So because I relate personally the most, and I feel engineering students are the most colorful in every way that you can think of. So I'll try to keep today's session a little informal, like it won't be any sort of a lecturing or anything like that, because firstly though I personally don't consider myself eligible to give lecture to anyone. It's just sharing of ideas. Mostly that's what I want to do, that because we ourselves during our journey at Altor, so I've been working on this for the last I would say 3 to 3.5 years easily. So based on that, I have had certain learnings from my team as well. So how exactly the prototypes are built, how things are developed, and stuff like that. And mostly, like in today's session, the goal from my side also is to make sure that whatever learnings that I came across, I'll try and frame it down for you guys in some way, shape, or form, if that's okay. So I just wanted one question. So Anushka and the other hosts, So how would it work out? So would it be that I say something on a certain point, and then if anyone has any questions, they raise their hands, or how would it go? So I want it to be a little interactive if possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you can start with the topic and then you can have a Q&A session like as you would want.
All right.
People would ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just first try to give a basic so to say outline. So, how often, and I'm sure very often, right? So, whenever we hear of, say, making something, building something, it's often the story goes like this, that, some friends, they get together, they build something that is, according to them, brilliant, right? So, they are these, so to say, the Tony Starks of our times, and, what they're building is unparalleled, even unmatched by Jarvis, and they are just absolutely out of the world innovations. That's what the founders always love to think. Okay, so there's nothing wrong there. Every founder thinks that he has invented the best thing ever that existed, and that's completely okay. So as an inventor, as a founder, one should have that conviction, that confidence about the thing. But anyway, so you now imagine a few friends get together and you build this amazing device which according to you is just out of the world, and then you start working on it. You have spent some money making the design, making sure that the tech works brilliantly and everything, and all of that. However, at the end of the day, funnily enough, once you take that to a prospective customer, you hear that probably the customer doesn't even want that. It's as simple as that, right? So this cycle is so repetitive, and this kills so many startups that you won't be able to even count. So the whole funda that first I'm building a product, then I'm taking it out to the people, that's in itself wrong, right? So I think in today's whole conversation, the first thing that I wanted to really hammer on is, do not get into this mistake or this wrong chain of thought that first I'll be building a product, then I'll be taking it to the customer. No, if you do that, chances are you will fail 99.99%. Why? Because by the time you are making this sort of the ideal product in your head and you're building it out, by that time the customer's needs have changed and you haven't taken that into consideration, right, during your whole building up process. So it's very important to understand that what exactly your customer is looking for, right? So say, in
Shobuj?
Removed.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, sir. Please continue.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's just fine. So, yeah, sorry. I was talking about
So the
how
needs of the customer has
correct,
changed by then.
correct. So, say the needs of the customer have changed at that point of time, and then there is hardly any point for you to build that same thing, because then if you're doing that, then essentially you are essentially wasting your time because the customer is not going to pay for it. That's the fundamental mistake. Just give me just one second. Yeah, I think there was some internet issue. Now I should be better audible as well. Is it
Yes, sir. It's
better?
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Really sorry. Okay, yeah. So I was just touching up on that point. So say, by the time you have actually developed the product, the customer's needs have changed. So what exactly is the ideal way then, right? So there is a very interesting book. It's written by a person called Mr. Eric Rice, and it's called the Lean Startup. So ideally, this is a complete wrong approach. Okay, so that I talked about, wherein you first make the product and then you take it out to the prospective customer's hands. Completely wrong. So what is the ideal way then? Comes the obvious questions, right? So as young students, as engineers, what should be your strategy to ensure that you can actually make something and give it out in the form of a product to people? Now here, before answering this, I would want to define what exactly I mean by a product and what exactly is a project, right? Because all of us, I'm sure whoever there, 80 odd people in this meeting, we all have used the Arduino board at some way in some way, shape or form, and all those wires and Vero boards and everything. So those are very much the projects. Why? Because there the electronics, the code and all of it, it's very raw, and at the same time it's very so to say makeshift, because you have somehow just gotten it together and it serves the functionality, right? So that's okay, that's the purpose of it, but that's a project. Why? Because no one will pay money to take that solution home. Very important. What is a product? It is anything that anyone will just take money from their pockets out in order to access it, right? So that's the very important difference between a product and a project. And one needs to understand that project is something that during the college time is what you guys mostly will be seeing, right? A project stage idea or something like that, wherein say just example, I'm just saying that you've used an Arduino board in order to probably make something, and there you have just soldered it, say on a Vero board or a piece of breadboard together, and thereby you are you're now right now very happy that okay I've built a very good thing, but you cannot sell it, right? So that's an important thing that you have to understand. Here, the only thing, and it's called a three-step loop, all right? A three-step cycle that we need to follow. Number one, build the scrappiest possible version, and please pay attention when I say this. Build the scrappiest possible version that is sellable and give it out to the people. There is absolutely no need for you to perfect your product right at the start. Especially I'm talking about, say, a physical product, right? Something that Altor also has. So the moment you do that, the moment you first build your scrappiest version, give it out to people, and someone is actually paying for it, that number one becomes your first customer channel, right? For a startup company, nothing is more than the customers. For any company, more so for a startup. So now someone has paid, and now you have given your solution to them. But that's a scrappy one, right? So now this person who has bought it, this person will now come back, and that person will give you feedback that, okay, this is something I paid for, of course, this is something, okay, maybe there was no solution, so you have given me something that's all right, but this needs A, B, C, D, these refinements right now. Then you start working on making the product better. So if you've paid attention, there is a very clear feedback loop, right? Very simple. You give something out very scrappy, the customer pays money for the same. Because he has now paid money, now he will look at this product in a very different way. He will look at it as a demand. Whenever we pay money for something, we sort of have an authority over it, right? We sort of have a demand for that sense of ownership. So then that person who otherwise probably wouldn't have given you much of an advice, but now because that dude has shelled out some cash from his pockets, now he will give you good advice. Bro, these are the things I need to have changed absolutely ASAP. And that's when you can actually, so these three steps, you giving out a scrappy product, the customer taking the feedback to you, you implementing it and giving the next version to him. This loop has to be repeated multiple times if you are a product company or if you are trying to build something. And this is the only loop that will actually get you to a product and customers at the end of the line. If you are in this whole, so to say, misconception that if I build the most perfect product out there, then I will just and then I'll take it out to the customers, because we all love dreaming, right? In our heads we are already seeing those wonderful images. Okay, I'm the next Tony Stark. I'm just flying up with my Jarvis. But those are all dreams. If in reality, absolutely, that's a foolish method to go about. The only realistic product building strategy has to be that you first build out a scrappy version, give it out to people, let those people come back to you for a feedback, then you send the updated version and repeat this whole thing as much as you can. So this goes as a very, I would say, initial framework on how prototyping should be done. Next, I think it's worth mentioning, because I'm assuming we have students from all streams, right? EC, CSE, IT.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily just the hardware. So I'll talk about the software as well. So, again, a small difference, a small point of difference. It's, I think, important for you guys to understand, because you all are young. So what's the difference between a hardware company and a software company, right? In terms of the product, in terms of challenges, and what is something that you guys should be looking forward to. So, building hardwares or building softwares, and why so? So that's a question I'll try to answer. So, see, like, of course, the world changed a lot after the Second World War, right? So the countries were newly formed. Each country got its own benefits. Someone didn't get something, and so on. So anyway, long story got short, over the last 30 years or so, China as a country has gotten this whole industrialization phase within themselves, wherein they completely revolutionized the country. How? By making themselves the mass manufacturers for the world, right? So any product today, and people often look down upon saying, okay, this is a Chinese product, so this has to be bad. What they fail to realize is that even a MacBook, if you are using one, even that's made in China, right? So it's not that only the scrappy ones are being made there, but the best ones are also being made there. So that clearly tells you the power of a country which not only makes also the scrappiest products, but also the best products in this world. I mean, if you have any decent hardware today with you, that can be a camera, that can be a laptop, an iPad, anything, chances are 99% that is made in China. Now, why so? It's not that, we all know the problems associated with China, right? We all know there are many issues, but why it's still being made there? The answer is very simple. The rest of the world does not have an alternative for it yet. You cannot say today, if I'm talking about a MacBook or an iPhone, you cannot have a stable, reliable set of production of these important devices anywhere in the world but China. Why? Because of the skilled manufacturing force there, the sort of supplies that's present, sort of economy that's already built around that. So we need to appreciate and we need to understand that China, in terms of hardware, is at a much higher position or at a much better position compared to even anywhere close to India. So China is probably closer to US in that regard. So there is also sort of a hardware community that keeps building physical products and so on and so forth. Now, coming to India, hardware in India is a massive challenge, right? So you may seem like a little shocker coming from me, because I myself am running a hardware so to say company in India. But it's, again, I want to be honest with you guys so that you have clarity in thought when you take your decisions in life. Hardware is very, very tough in India. To be very clear about that. All right. Is it impossible? Of course not. No, nothing in this world is impossible, right? So if you have that good an idea that needs a hardware product, of course, if you want, you can make it work. But if you are thinking of a solution in today's world, standing in 2022 and looking forward into the future, the idea is try to build software solutions. Why? Because if you are also serious about it as a business, if you're a pure software business, the chances of you earning revenue or earning money are way, way, way higher than if you do a hardware business. There's a very clear reason. Of course, if you do a hardware business and if your product's value is high, so say a customer, in order to do a transaction with you, is at least having to spend, say, 4,000 or 5,000 rupees, then still there is scope for you to make some margins and thereby run the company, run the costs and so on. Otherwise, selling hardware in India is very challenging. The reason is very simple, because if you are selling anything for which a Chinese copy is available, you cannot beat that in terms of price or even quality. All right, that's very important to understand. So there is no point fighting a war which cannot be won, right? So you already know that the war is lost. So over there, what should you try to do? You should try to focus on the software side, which is again India's strength in terms of having such a big engineering crowd and having so many software solutions. And of course, if there is some hardware that you think you have a very strong intellectual property on, a very strong patent protecting it, then of course you can go for it. And there are, the steps to go about that. I'll come to that later. But if you are a fresher, if you are having a blank piece of mind where you are trying to think what sort of solution I'm looking to give to my customer, or if you're planning to start a startup, please try and make it as much software only as possible, and do not try to get into a physical product aspect right away. Again, this is a general advice. It may still happen that you have a very good idea for a physical product. In that case, please go ahead. Please try to get some protection, IP and all of that. I'll come to that. And then you can go about it. But in general, running a software company or having a software solution is much simpler, easier. So so now if we say come to that point where, okay, I have decided in my life that I want to say run something like Altor. Just I'll give example of Altor again for a very clear reason, because we have a very strong hardware as well as a very strong software aspect. So I can share the ideas for both with you. So in terms of the hardware, again, there are like the first few units that you will make, the first batch or the first prototypes, cost cannot be your concern there, very simply put. You would need to keep an idea on what's the bill of materials, what's the cost of goods sold and everything. But you will not be able to make any money in the first few units. Be very clear about that. And that's completely fine. That's completely okay. What you need to do or focus on is very simple. You need to right now focus on how easy will it be to manufacture, to scale up, to multiply this solution into number of others. So that's when you actually understand something called DFM. DFM is design for manufacturing, and that's a separate topic in itself. We can have a 1-hour session just on DFM, and I would recommend, if you guys are interested, to go and check out a website called Predictable Designs. So Predictable Designs, it's like a global hardware community. The founder, Mr. John Teal, he sort of has taken up this philanthropic role of imparting knowledge to other fellow hardware startups or enthusiasts. So the first, again, there you will find the gist of what the things that I'm saying. Of course, I'm saying it in a more specific way for Altor. So the first time when we made the prototypes, things were as crappy as you can imagine, right? So we were simply just taping up stuff over the helmet with some white tapes, and there were Arduino boards hanging from the side. There were 1-2 LEDs blinking. So it was just horrible. Today, if I look at that, I'll puke. It's that bad, right? So, but you need to understand that is always the first prototype. First prototype, the second prototype, those will be bad. Those are meant to be bad. That is not the challenge. So you need to keep progressing in such a way that at least through this whole iterative journey, you come to a point where there is a final product at the end of it. And please don't make the mistake of thinking that you will get it in the first time. You will not. No one gets the product right the first time. No one. Till date in history, no one has. So don't even expect any of you will also have it. Please realize that process is very important, as I said in the first. That give it out to people once you realize there is a problem and it demands a solution. Let them come back to you for a feedback. You implement it quickly, give it back. Okay. So with that cycle, things will be very smooth. Now coming back to where I was regarding Altor's journey. So we had these crappy prototypes, and then we slowly developed into a product. And there again, that cycle helped us a lot. So we used to keep giving it away to riders at the start, just for free, right? So where we are just asking them to please validate the product, please give us some data to your rides and so on and so forth. But later on down the line, we also started charging money, not necessarily the full amount, but some money, because you have to understand how much you're charging for. And there you all would be so surprised, like once you all look to start out in that fashion, that the conversation changes massively. the moment the person is not paying money and the moment the person is paying money, right? So the moment they're not paying money, they're all hunky-dory, flowery, you are the best person in the world, my son, my daughter, what a great work you have done. This is bliss to humanity. The moment they pay the money, oh, okay, this is not too good. Please, I want ABCD more. I want these things incorporated right now. Why are you charging so much for this? Why is this solution costing more, this costing less? So there is a dynamic shift in the conversation, in the whole tone, the way a person approaches. And understanding that is so important, right? So I keep complaining and I speak a lot about how, outdated our education system is. This whole college, this whole process that, all of us, not only you guys, I myself had to go through, where we are just learning texts, we are just looking at, whiteboards and speaking with teachers, not really learning the essence of any stream at the end of 4 years, very honestly speaking, right? But whereas some small changes could have made things so different. So I genuinely feel that for every student, like doing some sort of a sales internship should be made compulsory. Like everyone should just go out and start working at McDonald's, at Domino's, at these KFC outlets, anywhere and everywhere where you can understand and see how a customer engages with a service provider. This knowledge is very lacking, right? Because we don't have that idea, we don't have that exposure. We have never been, most of us, I'm assuming, is like me, where we don't have an experience from a family side in terms of running a business. If you have that, great. If you have that experience, if you have that exposure already from your family side, great, use that. But I'm assuming most are like me, where they don't have this exposure. But then for all of you and for all of us, and probably me also when I was at that age, it would have been so life-changing had we had any sort of compulsory activity where we got to understand customer interaction. Because that's where students tend to struggle the most. They can't believe that the same people who were so happy about what they were doing, suddenly once it transforms into a product, completely changes their viewpoint, right, about things. So so again, then coming back, so once you go through these cycles and once you start giving the product out to people, slowly you will reach to product refinement stages 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. As I said right at the start, only DFM should be your primary goal. Cost optimization should come later. I mean, this is again something that we have learned the hard way, that in a hardware product, the costs are often a lot more dependent on unnecessary things, right? Like the freight charges, the shipping charges, the cargo charges, the container charges, the logistics charges of transporting stuff from one place to another. So these are things which you won't be able to control at first, and don't even put your mind there. No needed. Because why? You will be able to do it later on once you have scale, right? So once you have an order for, say, a 10,000 piece of something, whatever that you're selling, then you would be able to also negotiate better with your vendors. And again, like if I elaborate on each single point, it can become a 1-hour session each. But these are things that students usually don't have idea on, and where they struggle, where we have struggled ourselves. Speaking with vendors, right? So if you are, say, tomorrow working with a supplier, what are the conversations you need to have? Who is the supplier? How will you reach to them? These are very important questions that keep coming in and out of your head once you're working on a hardware company. So yeah, those challenges are real, and of course there are ways, like we have literally ransacked the internet to find for people who can help us. Luckily for you, if any of you want help, I would be very happy to help in your journey. So that's always there. But yeah, these are the things that you need to focus on. So those are roughly the points for a hardware company's journey as you are going forward. And there is a good chance, again, if you don't have friends and family backing you in terms of money, that if you are running a hardware company, you would have to take up some initial funding. So your vision, your path going forward has to be somewhat clear so that you can sell it. Now coming to a software only solution. Again, I personally feel that anyone who still hasn't thought of anything and is flexible to go either way should go for a software only solution, only because the hassles would be so lesser for you, right? So of course, if you can do hardware, then your upsides are also there in terms of selling the product. But in terms of running a business, in terms of especially starting out, because all of you are young college guys, so it's very important for you to have less variables, right? The more variables are there, the more are the chances of, so to say, I mean, for lack of better words, screwing up. So that's where you understand that we need to have lesser variables in place. So a software-only system is very apt there. There, what do you need to focus on? You need to focus on what the solution is. Now, in today's world, often founders speak about it in this way: wherever there is a problem, just build an app. That's it. I have learned Android development. I'll build an app. I'm done. No, again, a completely wrong way to go about it. The solution may not demand an app, right? So often in today's world, you see everyone making app for everything that's out there. However, for 50% of the things, you don't even need an app. Probably just a website is enough. Probably a simple WhatsApp group is enough. Just understand. So it's important for you to realize what exactly the solution demands. So let me give you an example, right? So say something like a Dunzo. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it. So there is a company called Dunzo that's based out of Bangalore and Pune. That's the first company that came into sort of hyper-local delivery for everything, right? For documents transfer, for parcel delivery in between within the city. So Dunzo came in as the first company. It started around 2015, 2016. Now, just try to understand what is the problem Dunzo is trying to solve, right? What is it? That in today's world, we all forget stuff everywhere, right? We are so overwhelmed with so much information, so much hurry, so much time, so all of that. So we keep forgetting. Now, Dunzo's proposition was very simple. What? If you forget anything, we will get it for you. And you pay us some money. As simple as that. Okay? Now, if you think deep, do you really need an app to start this? The answer is no. Absolutely not. What do you need? You need enough number of people who are forgetful. And you need to be in a group with them. As simple as that. So that can be done by a WhatsApp group also, which is exactly what Dunzo's founder did. For the first 1 year, Dunzo did not have any app anywhere because he himself is not an engineer. That's not important. Mostly he realized that the need for an app is still not there unless I'm first verifying my customer base. So how did he run the company for the first 1 year? Simply with one WhatsApp group. There he used to request that anyone who is forgetting anything or want anything done, please write in that group. And he himself used to go on his bike from one place to another to pick it up and deliver. So do you then realize that building an app right at the first opportunity is not the solution? So I always say this to people, and this is a general advice that's going for any of you. Do not jump into making a solution first. No. First, understand the problem. Then speak with prospective customers, whoever can be the prospective people who will pay for such a thing. You need to identify that first and go and speak with them. Then realize whether you at all need to build a solution now or not. If so, what solution you need to build. These are the 4-step questions that it should come by. And it should not be, I have an idea, I build a product because I have an insane amount of free time right now. I'm in college. I don't go to classes. I'm not doing anything constructive. I need to show my parents and I need to show my teachers. So I'm building a product. No, do not do that. Even if you do that, don't have any expectation that that will later on be your company or your entrepreneurship venture. Cannot. Simple. So if you are looking for it in an entrepreneurship way, in starting up, it has to go through these 4 processes. Number 1, you first think of the problem. What is the problem I'm trying to solve? Number 2, you try to think of who exactly are my prospective customers. Number 3, you go out and talk to these prospective customers. Ask them, sir, what is it that you need exactly? What are you ready to pay for this solution? Then the 4th, decide what solution you need to make and then make the solution. So that would be sort of, a brief overview from my side. And I would request if any of you have any questions, or you just feel free.
So, like as you have said, like in the initial phase, we can start off with the scrappiest version of the product, like to give out to the customers. But being in a market so full of competition, so won't that affect the reputation of the product or the company in the very first place?
Great, great. Interesting question. So here again, so Anushka, that's why I mentioned that four-pronged process, right?
Hmm.
No venture or no idea should escape this four-step rule. Why? I'll tell you. As you very correctly said, say if there is already competition and that to a good amount of competition, say example, I'll just give you an example. This company Boat, right? You all would be knowing it. The Aman was in Shark Tank, Aman the founder, and he's also an investor in our company. And I've personally met him. I've personally spoken with him. He's a brilliant guy, absolutely. You need to understand something. Boat as a company, what did Boat do? They didn't bring out necessarily anything new. Headphones existed before that also, right? Speakers existed before that also. What did they do? They tried to bring it in an affordable zone, affordable packaging, and give it out to people with a good sound quality. Now, there it's very important that both the founders, both Aman and Samir, who is the CEO of Boat, they both have been experienced in this field for 5, 7, 8 years. They both had been working in corporates. They both had their day jobs. They both had previously tried starting out companies and failed. So they knew the market very well. They knew what they were going to do very well. If that's your case, if you have that clarity, that vision from your experience, go ahead, absolutely go ahead and fight in a competitive market with a good product. And there, of course, Anushka, as you said, there it makes little sense to make something scrappy, because again it already exists to some degree. But my point is a little different. My point is, for most of the audience that is here in today's call, at least in this call, and including I myself, when I started out, I did not have these experiences. So I am not expecting that these students would also have a lot of experience in a corporate life where they have understood how to bring products to market, how to go about it. No. So if you are very new, if you are very, early when you're starting out, then again that fourth step becomes very crucial. Why? Because what was the step number one in that? Step number one was identify the problem. What is the problem you are trying to solve? Now there, if you see that the problem is already being solved by someone else, and there are already equally amazing products in market, then why are you at all wasting your time there? That would be my way of thought. Why are you not putting your thought in something else, some other problem? The world is filled with problems, right? And every single day, as the days increase, time increases, problems will be more. So then my question for that young entrepreneur would be, and again, I make it very clear, I'm only talking about these young entrepreneurs who are not experienced, who are starting out for the first time. So then my question to you would be, why would you need to bring that product out again yourself if it's already out there, right? So why are you not putting your thought on something that is new? So what happens is, the moment you are solving a problem that is not being solved by anyone else, you already are in that upper hand position where you can sell your scrappy product also. Think about it. Why? Because the customer currently has nothing. If it's a new problem, so say it's, for example, let's take Altor's case as an example, right? So what are we trying to do? We are trying to provide them communication and safety features while they are riding. Currently, before Altor, what did these guys have? Nothing. So these guys were simply putting the phone onto the sides of the helmet like this, and they were riding in this fashion. So this is a thing you would see a lot in and around, your neighborhood, your locality. And that is massively inconvenient. So the moment we give them something where they won't have to take the phone out of the pocket, even if it was a little scrappy, even if say there were connection issues 1 or 2 times, even if say the product didn't feel that good, but they were still buying it. Why? Because there is a big gap, and this problem was not being solved. So just to answer your question, Anushka, so if you are a young entrepreneur, I always recommend go for a problem that is not being solved or being solved in a very bad way currently, so that when you start the solution now, there is something there for you to play around. I mean, you cannot just play on perfection. It's very important to understand, because there are other competitors in the market which are way more equipped than you in terms of money, in terms of experience, everything. What do you have that they don't have? It's innovation. It's that mind, that newness. So work there and bring something out that is very new, it's very innovative, such that even the scrappy version is sellable. So that would be, the key takeaway.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, so it's a request to the other participants as well. This is the live Q&A session. If you have any questions, please shoot them in the chat box, or you may unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, and I want it to be a little interactive as well. So anyone, if you can just come up with anything, right? So as long as it's not unparliamentary, we can discuss it here. So I am very happy in that fashion. So please just shoot your questions, whatever you have in mind. If there's anything you wanted to know, if there's anything you are working on something and you're facing a challenge, please just go about it.
Suppose, sir, I'm making a product
Yeah,
which is a scrappy one.
yeah.
Then how the people would know that yes, this product that person make, and this will help their problems. Like how I can reach people in that level so that they can use and send their reviews on the product.
Good, very good question. So nice. So this is what I'm looking for. See, the moment you ask these questions, then it's easier for me to say also, right? So these things. So great. So firstly, let's understand two things here. Okay. Number one would be, as I said. So first, when you are identifying this problem, second step would be you need to go and talk to a few people. This is not necessarily to sell. Understand the difference. This is to understand what the solution will be. So now you are at step 0. You have thought of one fine morning, you've woken up and you have thought, I need to be an entrepreneur. That's what is missing from my life. Now I'll go about, doing it. How do you do it? As I said, step number 1, identify a very good problem. Identify something that you know of, that you know is being done in a very bad way right now, or it's not being solved at all. Take that. Step 2 would be what? As I said, you go and reach out to some people. So for Altor's case, that would be bikers, right? So what we used to do is, because I'm from IEM in Sector 5, Salt Lake, so we have a water body behind our college. That's called 𝐿𝙬𝙚. So I'm sure any of you have been there, Techno IEM side, they would know 𝐿𝙬𝙚 for sure. So what we used to do is, in our uniform, college uniform, we used to randomly bunk classes, go in front of those street crossings and randomly stop bikers on the road. And we used to stop them. They used to be, bemused. Why are these 3 college kids with their uniform on stopping us in the middle of the road? But when we did, we always had 3 or 4 questions ready for them. What? That is this a problem you are facing that you are having to, and we used to stop all those people who we saw more were, handling the phone like this and writing. So we already knew that they were facing an inconvenience. It's easier to communicate, to talk. These are user validations, right, Shavut, so that you asked. Excuse me. So after this would come that now you have some user validation. Now you know what you are trying to build. And then comes the important question where I think your question comes into play. That how do you spread the word out, or how do you know that enough number of people at least are facing this problem, right, in today's world? So this is again a very interesting area where I think social media comes into very good help for us, for anyone in that matter. So in today's world, and again, when I suggest of anything, I mostly suggest the least cost strategy, right? So you can always pour in more money and you can get more stuff out, but I am not going there because that's not the point where direction I want to go to. So at Altor, we always have worked to find out what can be the best value for money, what's the minimum investment which can give you the maximum return. And I will convey that thought only because I'm assuming most of you are from an economic background that I am also from. So that's very, very much all right. Now, in today's world, using Facebook ads. Okay, so these are again a few things I think everyone should know about. Facebook ads are a brilliant mechanism in today's world to find out some things. How? I'll give you an example. Say for Altor only, we have built something, say a module that can be clipped onto any existing helmet. And that can turn your helmet into a smart helmet. Now, imagine I haven't started building anything about that at all. What do I know so far? I know from 3 bikers that this is a very big problem, or maybe 3 is too less a number. I know from 10 bikers that this is a very big problem. Now, I am just thinking whether I would at all build anything or what I would build. There, what I do is simply put in a total investment of 2,000 to 3,000 rupees. I catch hold of someone who can make a good poster, and you just make a decent poster of the solution that you're planning to solve, right? So for us, what would it be? A module. So you put one module at the center, you chart out all its features in the form of rays, and that poster you promote as an ad in Facebook. If anyone just spends 15 to 20 minutes in YouTube, they'll understand how to run a Facebook ad. Okay, it's very simple in today's world. All you need to do is spend around 1,000 rupees in ads, and that would help. Facebook would then promote that poster to relevant targeted audiences, right? So for Altor's case, it would be bikers. The moment it's sent out to these prospective targeted audiences, there you will get to understand, Shobuj, your question, that are there enough people who are ready to even pay for it? If so, how much? What you can, I mean, there are brilliant ways you can conduct this, right? So what you can do is you can make a dummy website. Like I heard a friend, doing this, and it's brilliant. You make a dummy website, you put that, page very well properly, because what does it cost to make a website? Nothing in today's world. With the Wix and
Yes.
WordPress, you can just drag and drop. So you make a dummy website, you make a dummy payment page, and there you also will understand. See, you can just send an ad, people can come, but how do you know they are serious? When they click the pay button, right? It's at that point when you realize that someone is serious about it. So what you can do is you can have a dummy pay now button. When that button is clicked, you simply send them a message. Oops, sorry, the server is overloaded. We'll get back to you very soon. Very simple, right? You are not doing any sort of cheating with anyone. But what are you doing fundamentally? You are validating how many people are ready to pay for your product. So that
Okay.
can refine your thoughts a lot, and then you know what to build, you know how to build it, and you know who are the customers. You simply then reach out to all those people. There are lists available which you'll find out how many people clicked that button and so on. You reach out to them, send an email, say we have faced ABCD challenges. In a year's time, you'll have the product, and then you start building the product. So you would realize how fail-safe it's already is. By the time you are starting to build, you already know who would be your customers. And then you are just building for them. It's as simple as that.
So that the idea is very great idea, and I will surely use that idea for my
Absolutely, you
future
should.
purpose.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
We are still open for a few questions. If you have a few questions, then please interact and ask them. I have a question that is, specific with Altor. That is, when the episode got aired, we saw that there were two offers which Altor got, and there was this. After that, there was this discussion round wherein people moved out and had a discussion and came back and then chose one. So, what is that like? What made you choose from the one offer from the other? If
Great
we are
question.
allowed to know.
I've had this question so many times by now. So everyone is sort of in the YouTube comments also for the episode. You'll see everyone fighting about this. Why did these guys not take the 3? Why did they take
Yeah.
the 3? So no, we had very clear ideas before going ahead, right? So there are a couple of things we need to understand. Number one, this is the first season, right? So I myself am a massive fan of the Shark Tank US. So that's running its 13th season right now, currently. So there the sharks are also more or less similar, and by now any startup that goes on to pitch there in the Shark Tank US, they already know what to expect from each shark. They already know what Mark Cuban brings onto the table, what Laurie Grenier brings on, what Kevin O'Leary does. So all are very well defined. The problem here, what happened is, this is the first season. So we or anyone, we never had any clue who will be coming, what will their personalities be, because once we got to know who the sharks are, we only got to figure out about them through some, very boring CNBC interviews in the YouTube, because they were like those very obscure guys. Of course, we knew about their brands, but we didn't personally know about those fellows, so to say. So before going in, once we knew this was our panel, what was our panel going to be, we had one thing very clear, that we wanted Aman. Absolutely, right from day one. Because number one, he's a very fun guy to work with. And number two, he understands this customer segment, this wearable sector very well, plus this whole target customers. He understands them very well. So Aman was always a target. Now, what happened is, once we went there and we started pitching, and how that you would also see in the episode how it worked out. So Namita connected with it very well, very quickly. And there was an instant connection where, she felt that this problem is massive. she herself faces it for her fleet and so on and so forth. There was a very instant connection made over there. And for the other three, mostly we knew for sure that we would not be able to bring the equity ask down to 7%, which we could do for these guys. So for us, holding an extra 3% equity is of massive value, because at the end of the day, we know no one is going to build our business for us. Very simple, right? No one does it. No one does anything for you. It's your work. You have to do it. Yeah, of course, you will get help from everyone that you ask for. And down the line, if we are doing well, we can definitely have the other guys also with us. But for now, it was very important to save up equity, number one. Number two, to have Aman in, because that was always part of the plan. And number three, because we got the very good connect with Aman and Namita, that deal definitely made sense. And it still does.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so that will be. So I guess, sir, can you please share your socials or your email ID wherein the participants can connect with you in future if they feel you to? So you're muted.
So sorry. Yeah. So it's Shamik@altor.tech. SHAMIK, Shamik.
Okay.
@ALTOR, altor.tech. It's my email ID, and yeah, please try to make the subject lines a little exciting. Don't just make it such that it gets lost, because I right now receive close to 100 emails a day. So please make it interesting, and this goes out to every student in general. Whenever you are writing emails, or whenever you are, say, sort of cold emailing, please, these are the things you need to be very careful about, because I'm assuming sooner or later you would also all be going out to the corporate world to join jobs and so on and so forth. So there you would understand how important this whole thing is. So please just spend a little time on how to write good emails. You'll find a lot of good videos on YouTube. Please go through them and practice yourself. I mean, if you want to send one to me, there you will get a first practice chance in itself.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, you just yes, sir. You just said your email and it was .tech. Sir, I just had a question in my mind. So, what do domain name plays a role? Sir, what domain name plays a role in the in SEO or website? Means the .tech. I have मैंने बहुत ज़्यादा उस पे वर्क किया है डोमेन नेम्स एंड उस पे. So .com is very.
If you're okay, you can speak in Bengali.
Yeah, sir. Sir, अगर मतलब .com जो है बहुत महंगा आता है and .tech is comparatively low priced. Okay, सर, तो मैं मेरा एक वेबसाइट है तो उसमें मैंने .me मुझे फ्री में मिला था तो मैंने .me लगा दिया. अब मुझे चाहिए कि मैं .tech लगाऊं या फिर how do we choose the domain name and what role it plays in SEO and to reach out to more people?
Right. No, interesting and very important question also. So thanks for asking. So, see, again, this thing started out in the 1995 onwards, 1994, 1995 onwards, when the .com boom happened in the US, right? People understood there is something new called the internet, and there you can do a lot of crazy stuff around. So there, anything with a .com essentially got filled out. So, domain hoarding is another thing you would know, of course, where, people, whenever they can, they try and hold domains which they feel can be useful in the future. So a very simple example, in Shark Tank, only Piyush Bansal mentioned about this. So when he purchased the domain Lenskart, he also purchased 10 other domains with it. One was called Toy Cart, one was called, I don't know, something cart. So there were all these carts that they had already purchased. Why? Because they realized that somewhere down the line, as more businesses come online and as more businesses, come, so to say, over the internet or take place over the internet, these domain names would be very important. So if I just answer your question, how important domain names are? Well, they are super important, of course, but at the same time, they are not more important than the business itself. So that's an important distinction that needs to be made. And see, why are people often going for the .com? Because there is an aura of trust with that, right? So whenever you see a .com site, and we can all apply it to ourselves, whenever we see a .com site, we ourselves feel more confident about that site for some reason, right? And that's how the world functions as well. So always whenever you are trying to go for a say a solution, try to get a .com domain if that's possible. However, that's getting more and more difficult every day. We need to realize this, that as more brands are coming up and as more companies are being registered every day, as more domain names are being purchased, it's very difficult to find a .com domain in today's world. So if you can, very good, just go ahead for that, right? So when we started out Altor.tech, we thought of many things. We thought of altortechnologies.com, and several other things. But then we also wanted to make it, easily readable for the people. So if I say give, something like an altortechnologies.com for just the parent brand, then that's a problem, because I want people to type it very easily. It's altor.tech. Whenever they type, they just directly get to the website. It's very important, right? Secondly, when say these sort of domain names come up into the picture, like when we had to actually start selling, if you would see our website which is acting as a landing page right now for us is called altorsmarthelmet.com. Why? For the very simple fact that a .com gives you more trust, more credibility. However, it's not more important than the business itself. So in today's world, say, just for example, Devpriya, to answer your question, if you have something, say a .me, website, that's also doable. So I'll give you an example. Cred. There's a company called Cred. We all know about it, right? So if you look at Cred's website, it's, I think, if I'm not wrong, it's cred.club. So there are many interesting websites. Now you need to think that website, that whole URL. So for us, it's altor.tech, should convey something. That's the only thing you need to keep in mind. So if yours is ending on me, I'm assuming you are already, like, in the back of my head, I'm thinking probably the site has gotten something to do with personality development, with upskilling yourself.
It's my portfolio website actually.
Brilliant. So then .me is fine. There's no challenge there. So at the end, that whole phrase needs to make sense. If you look at altor.tech, you would understand it's a technology company named Altor, nothing else, right? So that's the idea. And as long as that is getting conveyed, you can choose any domain, because getting a .com is more and more difficult in today's world. However, if you get a chance, have a priority on .com for sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a pleasure hearing from you about prototyping and gaining your first-hand ideas. And essentially, we look forward to have more sessions with you if your time permits and if we can have them to gain further, in like experience knowledge, like rather than just bookish ones which are available. So it was
I
a
have-
pleasure hosting you.
Thank you for having me.
I have a last question. Can I?
Please.
say that?
Okay, sure.
So, I am glad that I have watched the first episode of you, Altor, and I was quite inspired from your episode, and I'm starting watching episode after
you.
that. So, I have questioned that what are the factors so that we can make our USP better so that it will stand out from the other competitors.
Could you please repeat the question, Devangan? There was a slight disturbance.
My question was that what are the factors that make our USP better so that it will stand out better from the other competitors for company?
So if I am getting it right, you're asking, when someone is trying to build a solution, what sort of USPs should that person
Yes.
focus on so that it's differentiated, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So again,
Yes,
you
sir, I had that same problem. I had the same question.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Okay. So I'll just answer this. I think it'll help both of you. So USP, very interesting word, and I think it's very underrated also in today's world, where people just randomly, in any pitch decks, you will find everyone writing ABCD as USP, whereas probably they're not, right? So what is a USP? USP is a unique selling proposition. Okay, that's the jargon. Now, if you boil it down, what does it mean simply? It simply means, see, entrepreneurship is a very hard journey, right? Let's not make any mistake about that. You are trying to build something in a world against all odds, whereas other people, it's a free market, so other people would also try to build that, and you have to do a better job than all of them, because otherwise there's no point. So in this whole journey, what are the chances that you will succeed? Because say whatever you bring or whatever you so to say innovate today, can happen that an industry giant, once they see yours working, they'll just simply rip it off and they'll build it on their own and they'll start going out, right? That's always can happen. So there it's you need to have, and please quote my word here, you need to have an unfair advantage, quote unquote, if you are going to win in this open market. Now, what is that unfair advantage? That should be the USP. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from as to why a USP is needed. Now, what sort of USPs can you try to build? Okay, so again, if it's a physical product, it's very important that you try to have some sort of IP protection. IP protection, I mean, be it a patent, be it sort of say a design patent, a process patent, a product patent, whatever. If you can, go for it. However, do not spend too much money on filing a patent. No, because at the end of the day, if you are going to get copied, trust me, a patent cannot save you. This again coming from a very practical perspective, you will know more. So this is again an oxymoron, right? You would be thinking that okay, we are so told that a patent is everything. A patent is your father, mother, everything. Once you're trying to build a product that's going to define your life, no, mistake, very big mistake. A patent cannot protect you if there is a company that's absolutely hell bent in copying your product. All they have to do is make a simple tweak and then the legal framework gets out of the window. Simple. So try for some sort of an IP, try for some sort of a thing there. Very importantly, what you need to do is reach out to customers faster, number one, and have some element in your product which is difficult to copy. So I'll give you an example for Altor. If you take a look at us, so the product side of it, and I'm saying we have a patent filed, right? So I myself have very little regard for patent. I mean, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love and respect any inventor who is going and filing a patent and trying to bring about an innovation. However, if you are wanting to be an entrepreneur, if you're wanting to start a company, a patent is not the best protection you can get. Very clear on that. So for Altor, what happened is anyone could have come and copied us, right? Today also, like after Shark Tank, I speak with Steelbird, Vega, Studs, all their board members and founders. So they all, technically, they all can come and copy. They all can come and do what we are doing. No one is stopping them, right? So where is that USP there? The USP lies that we actually have taken the pain to design an algorithm in such a way that has been tested upwards of 70,000 kilometers of ride, right? And that algorithm will keep getting better with time because we are not stopping. So you need to understand this. If there is someone who is trying to catch you, you should be way ahead by the time that person comes to your place. And that is the only USP that can save a company, that can save a product, that can save anything. That is speed. Speed of execution, speed of taking it out to the market. Only if you can build a brand, only if people know that your company exists, then only they will care about you, because otherwise, as bad and harsh as it sounds, the market does not give a damn. Whether it's you who is selling the product or whether there is someone else who is selling the product. As long as the market receives the product as a solution and their job is done as a customer, no one cares. Do you really care? If you think deep? No one. So if you're buying, say, a packet of chips, all you are caring for is that taste, right? So if today you don't find Lay's classic salted in a shop and you find Bingo classic salted, and if you want classic salted, would you really wait for Lay's supply to come back 3 days later? Answer is no. You will take the Bingo and run away. Because as a customer, you are only wanting that end result. So he or she will not protect you in any way. So if I boil down, what should be the USP targets? Number one, build something that takes time to build. Of course, there is a very clear unfair advantage. USPs can also be in this way, right? So say if you are experienced in one particular field and you know that this particular field has a problem that is very deep rooted, and I know that it exists, that can be your USP. By the time someone else comes and figures out and tries to build a solution, you have already went on to the next solution. So that I feel is the way to stay protected and stay updated the most. Of course, for smaller things or at a lower level, you can start out with an IP, an intellectual property, be it a patent or a copyright for your product or service.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So I believe the questions were all well answered and the participants have gained a perspective. And so thank you for joining with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks a lot to all of you. And yeah, really look forward to having more sessions. And just as a sign of, like, before signing off, I just want to leave you all with this. So please don't consider that, so to say, uh, you know uh, that a prototyping journey or any sort of journey is going to be easy. Again, this is coming from a very experienced point of view, so that you don't have unrealistic expectations. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be tough for everyone. So often something that happens is we keep feeling that, is the worst thing is happening to me only. Am I the worst possible dude in this universe, and everyone else is happy? The answer is no, everyone is suffering. So if today you go out and try to build something, you will suffer too. And that's exactly how you will go to that next stage, and then you will build, so on and so forth. And for anything else, please visit. It's a like, if you're interested in working with Altor, please go out and check Altor's LinkedIn page. We are really excited to have a few very interesting roles opened up.
Sir,
Some
sir, I
are,
want to ask you.
yeah. Please, Anand, go ahead.
Sir, I was asking that if I have any new idea based on something, creating something new, that is creating something new in the world of food technology. So, sir, how can it be very great if I create something new without any I have the symbol of that my food is very great quality and like that. And how will I get if my customers is marking my product that it is very great, but still they are not. And I was unable to get them. They are marking me very good, but I am unable to get them, and my product is not so cool in the market. So how can I make that product so cool in the market so that everyone could approach it?
So, Anand, I think like, you need to start that out again with something that I think answered in Shobut's question. That is,
Yes,
you
sir.
first need to test out that who exactly are your customers. So if I heard it right, you mentioned it's a food product, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then you need to have a designer friend. Just get hold of a friend who can use Photoshop, make a very good looking poster out of it, and just keep a 500 to 700 rupees budget for running an ad in Facebook. See how many people are actually coming and reaching you. And if you don't see that enough people are coming, then it's, I think, probably a good idea to move on to something else. So that's where you get validation, and that's where you get understanding on what those people are looking for. Right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Yeah. So Anushka, I think that should be it. And yeah, so I was just
Yes.
completing on that front. So if any of you are looking for working with Altor in any possible way, we are very happy to have you. Please go and check out Altor's LinkedIn page. You'll find many jobs and internship posts there. And yeah, that's it. And all the best to all of you. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so much.
for having me. Thank you. Bye bye.
The feedback link is shared. Please fill the feedback form, those who haven't filled yet, and it will be valid for the next 5 minutes. And if you are finished filling the feedback form and if you don't have any query, you may leave the session.
Thank you, Anushka.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, one more. Thank you so much for all the participants, because I'm certain that some of you have exams tomorrow. And amidst all of that, you will manage to join. Thank you for your support. And my special thanks to Shotrik sir, the faculty coordinator of this event, for arranging this event so well. And the special thanks to the core members of the startup club, those who have managed to pull this off. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deep.